All right, y'all. Craig Walker here, Subtle Energy Mechanics, talking to a friend of mine, Andrea Vila. Did I say it right?
Yep.
From you're not from you're not from Colorado, but you're hailing there these days. And a little background. I met you, I don't know, month or two ago. We're in the same 2 months ago. Yeah.
Yes.
We're in the same, found ourselves in the same working pod, in an online marketing group. Shameless plug for Taz, marketing for hippies. I've worked with a whole bunch of different business coaches, and he's got a great setup. So that's how I know Andrea here, and he and I are in the same um, group where we're kind of workshopping, marketing stuff. And my recollection was one day, kind of we were talking about like what we were going to get done, what we were going to get done during the week, with each of us in our pod had like respective homework situations, and you were saying, hey, I gotta do this stuff, but I haven't been able to work in a long time, and I got this long COVID thing going on, and I can't, my life's completely changed because of it. And I was like, hey, that's actually something that, we could talk about if you wanted to. I got this different energetic approach. I don't actually treat long COVID specifically. I'm doing this other energetic thing, and you seemed game for it. And then I was like, hey, after our first session, I was like, wow, this is a great result. And then I reached out to you, and I was like, hey, man, would you mind hopping on and doing like a testimonial? And you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, I need to know this stuff's going to work first. I'm like, okay, fair enough. And because you were really excited after that call, but you're like, no, man, I'm not going to put my name on this stuff until I actually know if it works. So now we're, I don't know, month and a half that working together, and figured like that's how's that for an opening. Is
Yeah,
that what you
absolutely.
recall it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Totally correct. And I said I was gonna do a testimony until I was sure it was gonna work, and it does. So I do this very, very happily. So what happened? I had long COVID for a year and a half, a little bit more than a year and a half, and it's been, uh, I got it better than most people in the sense that I'm not bedridden, but I had really, my business was very affected, my mental acuity definitely affected, my capacity to speak and give talks. So it had a big, big impact, and I sort of like living a very withdrawn life and suffering financially too. So and I tried like everybody in long COVID tried everything. Um, Tried acupuncture. I went to the usual suspects. I went to acupuncture. I went to change diet, get supplements. The doctors don't know what is the thing. I did ozone therapy. I did everything under a lot of my usual toolkit.
Yeah, let
And
me interrupt you for a second, because you gave a bit of the island A, but you're like had it not as bad, but like you were what you told me you did before is like you were able to hike mountains. You were like working days, you were a contractor leading big groups, like taking all these jobs. Like, what were you doing? And then how badly were you
yeah,
impacted?
the thing I realized that because I was hunting up in the mountains with a very young man in his 30s uh, in September of not this September, the one before, and then I got COVID. Then we had another expedition up in the mountains, and before I could really keep up with him, and after that, after COVID, I couldn't. I was useless.
Yeah.
He had to babysit me, and so within a month, I went from being head to head with a young man to being useless. Not useless. I mean, I could still get up in the morning, but it was not much help in the mountains. So, and then all my big jobs that I had lined up, I couldn't. My performance definitely suffered, and I had commitment, so I had to show up at work, and I stopped working in February. when I completed my assignments, but you know, I couldn't work for 3 months after that. And it's been on and off, you know, I just work just to pay bills, but it was like going to the dentist. So it was a dramatic difference. I mean, in the process, I also discovered that I suffered from sleep apnea. You know, there's been some improvement in that. So I started digging myself out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been a slow, steady improvement, but you know, just working with you has been hitting the accelerator big time. So that's definitely been my experience. And I still don't feel that I have a little bit to go, you know. But I feel I have strength in my arms. You know, also I've been sitting, you know, on my butt for a year and a half. So no working out, no, which for me is very odd.
So you've had this going for a year and a half, and then just to put this guy kind of the time frame in here, and I was kind of like kicking you in the teeth the other day. It's like, man, you're blowing my process, because you know you and I've had 6 sessions, and what I'm used to working with people is longer, you know, longer than that. So you know, after a year and a half of being down, you know, you have, I don't know what number you'd put on it. Do you feel 80% better, 70% better?
You know, I would say 85, 90.
Okay, that's after 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah, I have a noticeable. There's a noticeable little gap that I would like to close.
Yeah,
but I'm happy. So the 2 weeks ago was the first time that I felt like myself again.
yeah.
And that's for me is a very good, because you know, for a year and a half you don't recognize yourself.
No, that screws your brain, man.
That's a really I went like, wow, I'm back, you know, and it give a sense of possibilities and in your life. You start thinking differently. It's just it's good.
Yeah, good.
So
Does it feel, as I know we were talking about it, like we're talking about like a, you know, a pill that you would take to treat something, and it's very much not that.
right.
It's not, we haven't been like, we didn't sit down and go any kind of diagnostic history. Like, I'm not being a doctor. Haven't been treating, you know, you and I have been playing energy voodoo games over Zoom. Like, you and I have never been face to face.
Right.
Right. So how would do you have words that you can?
Uh, the only you know, I was a bit skeptical. Remember at the beginning, you invited me to go and check the places in town that they do a similar technique in the body.
Yep.
But and people you've been working in the past, so you know the spinal network people, and I interviewed with them, and I had a not a good vibe coming from them, and you know, you made the entry, the possibility to enter, you know, to the first session was pay as you can, so it made it easy for me, and so that I could get a sense of what it was happening. So that was the clincher, I think. You know, what I got to lose. I mean, you know, blood treatment costs $500 or more, you know, or $600 or $700. I forgot, you know, just for one treatment. And I said, what got to lose? You know, I can pay $50 and try it and see if it works. And then, you know, there was another scale after that, but you know, you buy something that you test.
Yeah.
So
What'd you notice? What did you notice? And then did you notice? I mean, you must have noticed something on the first day.
Well, I tell you the truth, I don't remember exactly. I just remember that I was surprised more than anything of for the capacity of my body to move.
That's what I just remember, just popping back now. Like, you were walking and you felt like that your sacrum or your tailbone.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah, yes, I remember. Yeah, It was, oh, absolutely beautiful because, and especially even the day after, there was a dramatic difference. There was beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, because I forgot. There was sort of like an unlocking on my sacrum, and I could see my, and I was walking. I can take a walk right outside here. There's a park, and I could really see like I was moving the foot, and it was more like my there was a freer sense of my back, of my spine,
Yeah,
and yeah, that's I remember. It was very distinct, very because I changed the way I move.
that's right. That's
That's
what
the
you said.
first. That's the first thing I noticed. Yeah, that's definitely the first thing I noticed. So definitely, yeah, it was definitely substantial. And I kept on the first 3 sessions when we did it when I was laying on my back. It kept having this sense of the freedom of movement, and somehow I think now it's integrated, so I don't notice it anymore very much.
Yeah,
You know, it's just the new way of for me of walking and moving. But
yeah,
again, I walked 7 days straight last week, and it was the first time I've been able to work 7 days straight. You know, there weren't full days.
yeah,
It wasn't 8 hours days, but it was consistent, substantial work and engagement with the world.
good,
So, and maybe 6 hours, but it was work that I was never be able to do it before. So,
nice,
definitely.
nice. And, and the part of me just also wants to ask because when I first like received this work, part of me was like, what the fuck just happened? Because I didn't think they did anything, right? The guy didn't do anything to me, and then like 20 minutes later, uh, I was on my bicycle, and like all of a sudden it was my head, my whole body, like kind of like you said, man. It wasn't. It just was different. Like something was doing my body.
Amen.
I couldn't even put other words to it, but it
Absolutely.
was a different it was a different um experience of this, like my body was like running its own kind of program, and I was just like going along for the ride. It's like, whoa, my body's dancing in a way like, oh, I got this dance back, and I forgot that I forgot it. Like I used to have the dance, and then I forgot that it's like I've been so disconnected from what my body was like designed to do that and 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 there was no like we didn't do any specific moves or training or like PT stuff. It was like it came from the inside out. It was completely opposite, inverted of the way that everything else that I had tried.
Self regulation. Uh,
Self-regulation,
yeah, you know, because you know I've been doing TRE, which is this really
the trauma
involves
release.
spontaneous, yeah, trauma release or tension release, whatever you want to call it, of the body. So I have a little familiarity on the self-regulation of the body,
Yeah.
and but this is more fun.
It's more fun.
This is more less drama, and at least for me, you know, for me it's been very light. You know, I can feel now. I start working up from the sacrum, start working my thoracic and my back. There's some opening happening in my heart area. Um, is is kind of magical, you know, and um, yeah, it's magical. Is well, the most important thing that it works, you know,
Yeah. Right. Right.
and
Now this next part we can keep in or not, so feel free to say whatever you want to or not. I know that you're a relationship coach for men, for women, and but this in this like kind of eros energetic. For me, this work has like revolutionized how I approach my intimacy. Like because we can do this stuff from a distance, and God, what did you just say? That there was like a self-regulating, like that when I'm with a highly sensitive partner, and there's something about the highly sensitive, I would say that the people that I work best with, or the people that I've seen do this work, the highly sensitive ones, of which I would include you in that group. How does this feel? Does it feel like it relates at all to the Eros work, or the work that you? I know you'd mentioned at one point that it felt like there was sexual energy running through you, but it wasn't like coming from me, but it was like coming through you. Does that feel like anything that you've thought any more about, or?
Um, it's a long story. It's a very long story, but
Big question.
so there is me and you would discuss especially when you flip me on my belly on the first time on the first session. Really this this sensual sensation on my body, and it still is very present. That but sensual energy is life energy, is the life force, is the same thing, so it just is it's very, right now in this phase at least, I feel it as very sensuous as it moves through me. Me and you, we use the image of this woman working me, and then the female presence. I know, I'm a construction guy, so I've been used to work out in, with burly guys. So I can live both worlds, kind of thing, So, but this is not frou-frou. This is fairly real, it's tangible, is you can feel it, and for as far as the erotic part is, or relationship, or I always believe that it's not by finding the soulmate, but it's about building a relationship that has soul. And I do believe that relationships have souls, a physical soul, and so so you're playing to you preaching to the choir, kind of thing, for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and it's kind of a bubble, that two people build together, and especially, male, female, it's the one I know,
Yeah.
relationship. So it's just creating this bubble of energy. And we probably, me and you, we grow, we creating at the same time, we're creating this energy with our, I don't know with what, honestly,
Yeah, I drew this
That's
picture.
not my territory, it's more your territory, so.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's stuff that I've been doing and playing with for years, but then, you come across something amazing and you're like, well, God, I'm going to go home, go to bed, go to sleep tonight, wake up tomorrow morning, be like, hey, well, what was that happened yesterday? And so I have to build these models. So like, well, I want it again. And how do I create this again? And what the heck is this? Because there's nothing in my years of scientific training allowed for this to actually work. And so I just was scribbling on this picture when I was actually on a call earlier today, see what you think. And here's my simplification about how this works: is that the model, like the scientific model, is all here. Basically, the hard question of consciousness is the one in science. Is like, is consciousness coming out of the individual cells? And I just have soul written here, but basically that can mean consciousness. And that's what the scientists are looking for, is where are the cells, or what's the interaction in the different brain parts that it's actually creating this consciousness experience. And when they haven't found it yet, but if they do find it, then you and I are going to be cast out as heretics, because there's absolutely no way that between the Northwest and Colorado we can do invisible energy shit, because that model will never be able to explain what you and I are doing silently, because it just can't happen. So the only thing I've been able to do is I have to solve the hard question of consciousness with some kind of big bubble of consciousness that we are all inside of. Right. Whether we call it soul or collective mind, whatever we name it, I look inside my head while I'm looking at you. So I'm looking in both directions. So I'm watching you while I look around inside my experience, and then I'm watching for your body to go to start moving to show me that I found you, which is mind breaking unless we're in one on some level one collective mind, and then I can find you, you can find me, we can find each other in here. And if that's the case, there's all sorts of game on with all sorts of possibilities, right? And but part of what my passion is, why I call it subtle energy mechanics, is just because we're in a collective mind doesn't mean that there aren't rules and there aren't mechanics for how this works. And I certainly don't claim to be some kind of philosophical master of knowing how it all works, but I did come across something in a way that we can set the game up, whether it's like you and me, two guys doing this from across space, or me playing with my intimate partner. And can we be two separate bodies but also connect internally? And when we do that, there's this other kundalini, if you will, there's this other energetic, intelligent energetic force that moves through both of us at the same time.
Mhm.
And that's some coolest shit I've ever come across, and I think it could actually explain a lot of the psychedelic experiences that people are looking to integrate, looking to find context for, and going to be having a really hard time if they're trying to fit those experiences into the narrative where we're all separate. Like it just doesn't work.
But the individuality is the greatest abstraction and irreality of ever invented. We're not individuals. We've never been individual. We'll never be individuals. Is an abstraction that works in the realm of social scientists, so they can sell us stuff or they can put in some certain boxes. But the reality of a human being is a human being is a crossroad of stories, of intelligence, of ancestry, of mistakes, of personal history, genetic history, tribal history. The way the mind is wired up is totally dependent on the environment where you grew up, the stuff you learned, the stories you've been told. I mean, it's like, where do I begin and where do I stop? Is plus there are things like there's always here there's no heart, as if the heart didn't have an intelligence, which is idiotic. It's not idiotic. It's very reductive. I mean, you understand science have to reduct.
Over reductive. Yeah. Yeah. It just seems
They have to
over.
reduce everything, but it's not a model that can serve to explain what's happening between me and you, or the healing you produce, and and um, um, I mean, the thing about a relationship is very, very, very interesting. It's like you open the door to that bubble I'm thinking of. You open it for each, and so that they all be nourished and connect to that bubble, and and if you when I do my lectures, I always the introductory lecture speak about I read a page from Frankl, the Search of Meaning,
Yeah.
and there's a little part in which he is visited by his wife in this while he's working as a prisoner of war, as a Jew in the concentration camp, and he's working in it, but he's visited by his wife, who had died, by the way. He was already dead, but he didn't know it.
Yeah.
And he had this beautiful conversation with his wife, and he writes about it and what happens, and and that was a life-changing experience for him, because he was a trained doctor, he was a rationalist, a scientist, or was a psychologist? No, I thought he was a doctor. But anyway, he was trained in certain and that his experiences like, oh, this is how life works.
Yeah.
There's the intimate conversation that lasted a long time with his wife. His wife wasn't even alive. And the same thing happens with Dante. Dante, you know, and Beatrice dies when she's 22, 23, and Dante's about the same age. But he keeps having a relationship with her until he dies.
Huh.
And he writes to her and writes about her, and she becomes his guide. And you know, his relationship doesn't end. You know, so I mean, we can really talk about it. I mean, I can really talk about this thing forever, but it is. So you're working with something that has got some precedent. Let's put it this way. You know, some literally precedent.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and but we train to see this, you know, in a very narrow. Like you fighting, you know, fighting by you have sort of have to argue with scientists, and I have to work with, and I have to argue with relationship, the way they are conceived, you know, mercantile relationship. That's how I call them. Mercantile is the word of relationship right now. This I give you this, you give me that. You know, we create a little home in a prairie, but it's yeah, there's that definitely that level, but there's so much more.
Yeah.
You know, there's a
Yeah.
big world out there, you know, and you have to feed that world if you want to keep it everything else alive, you know. So relationships are more than just than a transaction, you know, way more than a transaction.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
everybody has to look at the, you know, both member of the relationship have to look to they start looking, instead of looking like we look at me and you like in front of each other. That's a transactional way of looking, but we can look at the relationship like a third entity or
Yep.
whatever you call it, this bubble, this general soup we live in, whatever, which is specific to us though. You know, if we both look and say, how I can relate to, how can I make this relationship bigger?
Yep.
How
Yep.
can I make it stronger?
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
what this action I'm about to take now, how is this gonna affect the relationship?
Yeah.
Is a totally different way of thinking.
Should we play with it?
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, man. All right. Well, well, we'll take a split second pause. Yep. We're good. We're good. All right. You, you might hear me mumbling a bit more because I theoretically have people here with me. I don't actually have it set up where I can ideally be great if I could actually use my pen to point out what I'm doing, but I'll tell you what I'm watching. Okay. Okay. With my focus, I got 2 points of focus. I'm coming in through the low back. Here we go. I'm going to come up through through the heart. And I'm watching for it to come in. There we go. Up into the neck. And I'm going to feel big like this. I'm going to raise it up above him. I'm going to come back down. I'm going to focus right here. Okay. There we go. So I was about to have him not roll his head nearly as much because we want to keep it within the area of the spine. So now I'm going to bring it down to tailbone here and bring it up through the spine. There we go. And then back to tailbone. Tuck your chin a little bit. Yep, there you go. Tucking his chin, he's gonna be able to feel it because he's got too much energy coming up through here. We want to come down to the tailbone. So wait, there it is. There we go. Nice. Now back up, back down the tailbone. So this big energy that you're seeing, y'all, is this Kundalini energy, and it's wild looking, right? There's no doubt that you're sitting here thinking that like, what kind of bullshit is this? This is wild, and yeah, he's my Italian friend that I paid to do weird gyrations on the table. But whatever. I know it looks weird. What can I say? Okay, there we go. here, 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 here. Okay, so there's a lot of writhing, but I want to make sure that there's two, two layers of energy that moves through the body. One is a slow motion breath wave, and one is the larger Kundalini energy wave. And you gotta have both layers. If you guys are playing with this at home, you're going to be tempted, especially if you're playing this with your significant other or your clients, whatever. Excuse me. You're going to be tempted to get distracted by this. Do not be distracted. Do not be pulled out by, oh, look what I'm doing. Because this is a really powerful force, and you got to make sure that the breath is just slower motion. Funny thing happens right there. You saw, maybe somebody look up in the top of my screen. I just got a random text from somebody I went to kindergarten with. And we used to say, like, in these like magical moments, we'd say, shoot dang. She texts me in the middle of nowhere. And this is what happens rarely when you start doing this work, or when I do this work, where we're playing in the collective intelligent field. Notice that he's still moving, right? You don't have to like track it the whole time. It's not like a marionette puppet where he's only doing what I'm telling him to do. Something about I'll come back to that story in a second. Something about my focus. There it is. There's the oscillation. Good. Okay. This is an emergent thing. Watch it. This is how the nervous system learns. It's like we learn to ride a bike. There's different levels of coordination or complexity of coordination that happen throughout the nervous system as the nervous system learns something. In the spinal cord itself, there's something called a pattern generator, and this is what we're watching have happen. His central nervous system is generating a pattern to deal with this much energy. So I'm guessing that this is why he's spontaneously noticed his own life changing, his own energetic experience changing after doing this type of yogic work. Again, I'm not treating the long COVID. I'm not measuring it. I didn't do tests. I didn't tell him what to do, what not to do. I said, you've got energetic fatigue issues. You can't move. Let's do this energy work thing, because we're connecting through space like this. And as we connect, something in the connection, something in the bond between the two of us, energy actually produces itself, or presents itself rather, through myself, and I can feel it moving. I'm just kind of running in the background, but also through him. So there's something in my focus and his focus, both of our postures. I'm not going to go too much into the mechanics here, but if you want to learn more, watch more of my videos. Take one of my free signature talk classes. I'll go into more of the mechanics about what I'm doing. If this seems like a fit for what you've got going on in your life, something you want to learn for yourself or for your intimacy or your professional practice, happy to talk to you more. I have an online school where I teach this, and a live school, online component, live component. But back to what I was saying about the text that came up with somebody went to grade school with, and then all the way through the years, and I hear from every few years, I'll say. And she just right now in the middle of this call sent me a text. She's like, Craig, you're never gonna know what just happened. And then she sent this quote that was something we used to say when there was like a spontaneous wild thing that happened. And she's like, damn, something like that. And she's like, that just came into my head. And so it's just some of the wild sort of serendipity that happens when you start playing with this work. And okay, now look at him and notice that he's just achieved a level of stillness. Particularly, I'm looking at this part of him right here and how it's sinking in. This part right here. Now I'm going to bring my focus up to here on him.
nothing happened. That's one of the ways that I know that that's how I decide sometimes when it's done, is that I will run my focus through him. One thing I'm not doing is I'm not sending him energy, right? There's no body, or there's no energy in my body that I'm sending through the computer screen. Like that's not how it works. That's an over dualistic point of view here. But there is some dualism that's remaining in my body. Well, I can look into the collective mind, and as I look into the collective mind at his body, and I feel where my focus is, energy seems to run through where my focus lands. Now, I'm not one of those, like, enlightened yoga mystics that can explain all the different ways that some of this is working in that ancient yogic language. But I've done enough of it that I can reproduce it, and I know what it is that I'm watching, right? So I look at this as kind of like a bit of a, like a sport, like basketball. And I've played for enough years with many tens of thousands of individual client sessions. And so I've learned the basics. I've learned the fundamentals about how to connect with somebody and recognize when the connection is still there, recognize what the energy looks like, and it's got 5 different frequencies that it moves through, recognize if there's one that's missing, recognize if there's a coordination challenge in different parts of his anatomy. And this is just all laid out in the yoga texts, usually in the philosophy component of a yoga course, where they talk about the bandhas and the nadis and the koshas. All of this we can explain with the bandhas and the nadis and the koshas. My sense is just to let you lie there and process, unless you have an impulse to sit up and share. But I can just click you off here and send you a thank you for hopping on, sharing your story. Are you still with us over there?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm good. I'm just good.
Which is good. Anything that you feel
Second?
anything that you feel compelled to share about that thing that just happened in your world?
No. I don't.
No? Okay. Fair enough. So you went to the place beyond words?
Yeah. I'm just enjoying this.
Cool. Like I'll give you a couple of yes or no answers. Does it feel like I'm forcing you to do that in some kind of puppet mastery way? Or does it feel like you can
No,
no,
I don't.
feel like you got control of that in there?
Yeah, I try not to control it. I just move whatever the way it feels,
Yeah.
whatever needs to move.
I'm just coming up with some of the questions. Does it feel good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it doesn't hurt.
No, I mean, there is some, old age type of
Yeah.
injuries, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's no.
And it doesn't feel like, does it feel risky?
No.
Yeah.
It's-
How about like a yawn? That's how I've described it to myself, almost like we're coordinating the yawn, like a yawn comes through you and the yawn's not going to actually hurt you. Right. Black magic. I've forgotten that question every now and then. Does it feel like black magic?
No.
Like I'm in there doing some kind of a
Yeah.
implanting devil, whatever black magic people do. I imagine that if it were black magic, you wouldn't actually be feeling better. But we can never know what people are going to say.
I've been in Africa. I know what black magic looks like.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. This is eight.
this ain't it. This is This is G-rated energy games. What other questions? Any other questions? Doesn't hurt. You can stop it at any point. It's actually probably easier to stop this than it is to stop a yawn.
Yeah, you can stop it. You never feel like you lose control. At least I don't.
Yeah.
It's somehow it's not bigger than you. It's something that is is with you, you know. It's not you're not being
Yeah.
possessed by something. You just like it's it's your spine trying to, or your body trying to find like some real comfort and pleasure in being itself,
Yeah.
you know. And
Speaking of that, does it feel like you can, like, if I'm not here, does it feel like you could do all of this yourself, or does it, yeah, does it feel like you can do it on your own, or does it require,
I never thought of it.
yeah.
But you might be losing a client now. Who knows?
So yeah, I mean, so it's an interesting thing. You know, for years I would get the question from people, hey, can I just do this at home? Can I try it on myself? Because most people don't think just to lie down and like imagine what energy would feel like moving through them. And so actually, another doctor that I've been working with for months who's got really horrible bedbound long COVID, she'll get on the table every single day on her own, as part of her daily micro ritual to help to check in and, you know, with the energy. One thing that I notice is that, you know, you, but also her, and consistent through with my experience with this with others, it's a nervous system coordination process. It's like learning to learn the spinal cord, learning to dance, and so I've been watching it get more and more and more coordinated, and some of the the wave that we were seeing that moves up and then down actually gets more and more coordinated. And because with some people, you know, they just flop right off the table or off the couch, and, you know, more and more coordinated, you actually you're less likely to move all over the place. And so the energy moving up and down the Sushumna is that central channel, the Kundalini main channel in the yoga world. It's actually better able to really move the energy right through where that spinal cord is, rather than around it and on this side and that side. So there's something to its evolution, you know, its coordination, which would be part of the answer maybe as to why, you know, people say, well, do you need it more than once? You know, 5 times, 10 times, 50 times, depending on, you know, and it's not coming from a point of view where you're treating something, but it's coming from, because if you're learning to ride a bike, you're not treating the pathology called inability to ride a bike, right? You're actually training the nervous system to ride a bike for the first time. So we're training the spine to ride an energetic wave for the first time. And the side effect is your life has a lot more access to energy and clarity of mind and sensitivity of heart and accessing of people and on and on. Does that make sense? Or does that sound true?
Well, yeah, I think you know yeah, something definitely to explore. I think that there's some, you know, for me, there's still some all the injuries, you know, lower back, you know, the lower back injuries, or you know, sciatica, you know, L5, that kind of stuff, that kind of problem. They're sort of like they want their to be released at the beginning. You know, I started doing this twist and stuff.
Yeah.
But then it goes, so once that sort of is unlocked, it sort of moves up to the upper thoracic. And today I was noticing that it's moving from last week was, Thursday when we did it was mid thoracic to the base of my skull. And now is 3 vertebra up, you know, 2 or 3 vertebra up from the mid thoracic.
Okay.
And it's more concentrated, like, and somewhere, you know, neck and the first 3 vertebrae below the neck, kind of thing. So it's just it moves up, and just
So not only is it not as only it's not only coordinating up to your mid thoracic, but now it's coordinating an additional 3 segments above that. So it feels like there's more.
Sort of like it left the mid thoracic to the center of my, you know, my thorax.
Yep.
It's moved up 2. So now it begins 2 vertebrae up from my mid thoracic. So in the center here, moved up a little bit, 2 vertebrae, I would say. And then, but then it goes all the way up in my neck, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know, it was different from Thursday, you know, that's what I know.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something else that, that, you know, we're not, you know, about the sciatica or low back L5, low back pain, or even the COVID that, you know, this work isn't about treating any of those things. And we're going to rely on the intelligence that runs the yawn through the body to not hurt itself. Right. Which, you know, clearly I can't do anything from over here. I'm not doing any kind of black magic wizardry that would hurt him. But in our connection, the energy is coming up and it's aware, way more aware than either of our consciousnesses are, where he has injuries that need to be taken care of. And then, you know, it seems like that some things are spontaneously getting better, and that there's always doctors down the street if you want to go get things looked at from that point of view that you're not figuring out how to work with in your own life. And
Yeah,
that-
but you know, I could take care of all those things with a doctor down the street, you know, and chiropractors and stuff. But they couldn't fix my long COVID, man. So
yeah, well, and I guess that's my point is that, you know, there's some stuff that we can do energetically that's outside of the medical model. Right. And as you get access to that, you know, life vitality back, let your life take care of it's able to take care of when things start to come back together and you defragment. And then whatever's left, you go to your doctor for, you know, if you want to.
oh, it feels so warm and fuzzy. My back feels really nice.
Nice. Great.
Warm and fuzzy.
I'll take it. Well, thank you, sir. I really appreciate the help here, and you and I can stick on afterwards to chat for a bit, but I just want to officially thanks for
Pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
yeah hopping on and sharing your story. It's a hopefully some other people will find some
Yep.
hope in
Yep.
it, you know.